Hello and welcome to the second video in my series on AI for the over 40s. So if you want to know more about AI and how you can use AI in everyday life, that's what I'm going to cover in this short series. So have a look at episode 1. I've given an overview of some of the types of examples that we can run through. And what I'm trying to do is help those who haven't heard of AI or have heard of it but don't quite understand what it is or how it could be used in everyday life. And when I say everyday life, I don't mean running a business. I mean everyday practical tasks that we need to use at home. So in this episode, I'm going to dive straight in and I'm going to show you how to use an AI tool to plan a one-day city break. For this example, I'm going to use Edinburgh in Scotland. That's where I'm from, so it feels like an easy one for me to use. But the point is, for these AI tools, you can use any city to plan a day break anywhere in the world. So we'll do a one-day trip in Edinburgh. There's a trend for what they call extreme day trips now, where people zoom in from other places, other parts of the country, other parts of the world, and they spend one day in a particular city. They soak up the sights and then they head home in the same day. So, perfect for us over 40s who want a quick adventure without all the overnight hassle that goes with that. It sounds pretty intense to do it in one day, doesn't it? But lots of people are doing these trips now. So we'll use the AI tool to make sensible suggestions about what you can achieve in one day. It knows what sites to visit, where the cafes and restaurants are. It knows how far apart they are, and it can plan something that's sensible for you, whether you want to walk, take public transport, and you will be able to fit what it recommends into one day. So we'll do this step by step. We'll create an ask of the tool. It's called a prompt. So when you ask an AI tool a question and you type the question in, that's called a prompt. So get used to me saying prompt quite a bit. We will start with a basic prompt about having a day trip in Edinburgh, but we'll expand on that prompt as we go. So we'll go through 5 stages, where at the start it's quite a basic question to the AI tool. We will build on that. We will focus it more on the types of things you want to see, the types of food you like, and the type of transport that you want to use. And by the end of the episode, we'll have created a more tailored prompt that gives you exactly what you want. We'll walk through it together live. You can follow along if you want to with me. You can have your devices open, tablet, phone, watch the video, and then have your laptop or another device where you can actually go into the tool and type the same things I'm typing and see the results live. So let's give it a go. So, as I said in the first video, what we're going to do is head over to x.ai. So if you type that into your browser, into your internet address, x.ai, and that will take you to the Grok tool. So the Grok tool is the one that I use most often. There are other tools. There are ChatGPT is available. Google have an AI tool called Gemini, and there are a few others after that. So I'm going to use Grok. So if you want to follow along on your device, x.ai. Now when you get there, you will see the home page for Grok, and in the top right hand corner you'll see a button that says Try Grok. If you haven't already signed up for the tool, this is where you will click that button and enter your account details or create an account. It's completely free. There is a free tier, it doesn't cost you anything. If you have a Google account or an Apple account, I think you can use them. So go through the sign up process and that will give you access to use the tool. Okay, so when you're in Grok, you will see the prompt window, and there's a question in the prompt window that says, what do you want to know? So this is where we enter our asks. This is where we type our prompt or the thing that we want to ask the AI tool. So you're now in the AI tool. This is you using an AI tool. So as I can demonstrate how the tool will provide a better response based on how good your question is, we'll keep it very vague to start. So all I'm going to type initially is plan a trip to Edinburgh, and then hit enter on that. So you'll see it searching, and it'll say thinking as well. But what it comes back with automatically is a tailored plan for a 3-day trip in Edinburgh. And you'll see the results yourself on screen. But you can see, even with a very vague prompt, it's attempting to give you a breakdown of each day: morning, lunchtime, evening, different tourist attractions. There's some prices in there of food and entry fees. It's already quite a detailed response, but it is quite vague. So, it's giving you 3 days, when actually this example today, I'm going to do a 1-day trip. It's not taking your budget into account, so it's suggesting, whatever it thinks is appropriate for itself, not for you. But there's some additional tips in there about festivals, etiquette in Edinburgh, and safety as well. So generally a good response, but not particularly tailored to the thing that we're looking for, which is a 1-day trip that suits you. Okay, so let's expand on that. Let's make it a bit more specific about what we're trying to do here. So instead of plan a trip to Edinburgh, let's change it to plan a 1-day trip to Edinburgh. So, and hit enter there. So it's a small change, but you're making it much more specific in terms of you want to visit Edinburgh for 1 day, not for 3 days. So let's see what it comes back with there. So, now it's talking about a 1-day Edinburgh itinerary, which is exactly what we asked for. It's starting at 9 a.m. It's giving you some things to do: the Edinburgh Castle, Royal Mile, and as we scroll down, there's something for the afternoon. It's talking about a quick snack stop. So again, quite useful, quite focused. A lot to do in 1 day, but it's trying its best to give you a 1-day itinerary, because that's kind of what you asked for. So come down to the bottom, and there's something about dinner, sending you to the Newtown part of Edinburgh again, which is a nice place to go. And then there's some optional options in there as well to climb Arthur's Seat. Arthur's Seat, extinct volcano in Edinburgh. Yes, you can walk up it. It's very popular. But it's even taking account of weather. So it's saying, weather permitting, you might want to do that. So again, there's some tips and logistics about transport, budget, weather, pace, and accessibility, which is really important as well. So it takes quite a lot into account, even when it's trying to, respond to a prompt that was quite vague. Plan me a day trip in Edinburgh. So let's move to step 3. So we'll expand further on this, and we'll make it even more specific about what the things that we want to do. So let's say plan a 1-day trip to Edinburgh. I am arriving by train at 8 a.m. and leaving by train at 9 p.m. And we can also add, include the most popular attractions or tourist attractions. Include optimized walking routes. So now you're telling it that, you're telling it specific times that you're going to arrive and leave Edinburgh. You're telling it that you want to visit, in the time you have, you want to visit the most popular tourist routes. You may not. You may choose to say, don't include the most popular tourist attractions, so that you can go to some of the, less busy attractions in that day. And I've said include optimised walking routes. So that's assuming you want to walk around Edinburgh. It's quite an easy place to walk around. It can be a bit hilly, but that will choose some of the ideal walking routes that you can take as well. So I'll correct my spelling mistakes. It does use American spelling sometimes. Tourist, and we'll enter that. So again, having a think, and coming in. So there we go. Much more specific now. So now it's telling you that, you know, you could go for breakfast at the Edinburgh Larder, a nice place, I've been to it, and starting 8:15. So it also knows, you know, how long it takes to get from the train station to that particular cafe that it's recommended. And again, as you walk through, I'll scroll through the response here, and you can see, you know, it's quite a detailed plan now. And for each activity, it's talking about a description of where you're going, the address to find it, the walking route. So it's actually telling you how to walk from one place that is recommended to the next place, which is really quite good. A bit about the activity and a bit about cost. You know, how long might you spend there? How much might it cost? And how long do you think you're going to spend at that particular attraction? So again, total walking distance at the end, 3.3 miles. It advises you if any of the attractions are ticketed and that you might need to buy tickets for those. So it includes all of that as well. So you can see from where we started, it's becoming far more specific and, you know, far more tailored to what you actually want to do on that particular day. So let's move it to step 4. So this time, step 4, we'll use what we already have and we'll expand even further and make it even more specific to what we're doing here. So let's put for a couple over 40, include Edinburgh Castle. Most people want to see Edinburgh Castle who come to Edinburgh. And let's add my budget for food and drink is £150. I've got dollars. 150 GBP. And we'll change that. Okay, and now off we go again. So this time it will build on what it already had, but what it's taking into account now is our age. Not to say that people over 40 can't walk 3.3 miles and much more than that, but we're being explicit, we're being quite specific with it and telling it our age. So we've also given it a budget, so we'll tailor the response and the recommendations for food and drink and transport into the budget you have given it. Now that budget could be higher or lower than £150, that's up to you. But the point of the episode is to show you how specific you can be with the tool to bring back something that really suits your needs. So this one's taking a bit longer. It needs to think a bit harder about what it's going to recommend to you. And as it generates a response, you'll be able to see on screen, you know, it is now acknowledging that, you know, the start time we gave it, the finish time we gave it, it's acknowledging the attractions that we've asked it to consider, and it does all of this before it generates the response. So it says it's thinking. You know, I'm a firm believer that AI is not thinking in the sense that we think. It's generating, it's crunching numbers, and it's coming back with a best response. You'll also see it visiting websites. You'll see it, you know, referencing websites, looking at Edinburgh Castle website, searching across things like TripAdvisor before it makes recommendations for food and drink. So it's quite extensive in terms of the research that it performs before it comes back and gives you a suitable response. It covers opening and closing times, so it checks when last entry to the castle is in September. So once again, we have our response, step 4. And you know, you can see on screen, it's assumed attraction entry fees are separate from the £150 food and drink budget. Now that's interesting. So if that's the case, that's fine. If that's not the case, you would go back to your prompt and go in and be explicit about the fact that that £150 budget includes ticket prices and must include food and transport. and it will factor that into the response. But in this case, it's assumed that ticket prices are out with the budget. So once again, you know, it starts from 8 a.m. when you arrive at the train station, as you've told it, and then it gives you a breakdown of your day, including lunch, including different visitor attractions. There's Palace of Holyrood in there, there's Calton Hill. Dinner again with a price, an estimate of £60 for dinner. And then some summary notes at the end. And at the very bottom there, you'll see on the page that it's referenced 52 web pages to pull that information back together. So that's quite impressive that it does that kind of research within a couple of minutes to bring back what it is that you want. Okay, so let's go for the final step. Step 5, where we'll build once more on top of the prompt that we already have. It's now getting quite specific, but the beauty with these things are you can spend much more time once you get used to how to use these tools. You can be as specific as you want. You know, there are 4 or 5 sentences here that we've put in the ask. You can put 20 sentences. You can put 50 sentences. You can be as specific as you want. And where it comes back with an answer that you don't quite like, look at the bit that you don't like and then go back again and ask again and make sure you address the thing that it didn't like in the first place. Now I'm going to step it up a bit here and we're going to do a bit of role play. Not you and I, but the tool. So one of the things you can do with these AI tools to get better results is you can ask it to perform a role. So if you are asking a specific question about a very specialised topic, you can ask it to take the role of an expert in that field, and it will then focus its response and its research much more deeply in that particular topic rather than being quite broad. So what I'm going to do here, we're going to ask it to act as a travel expert when it's planning our trip. So let's do that. So at the start of the prompt where it says plan a one-day trip to Edinburgh, I'm just going to add at the start of that, act as a travel expert, and I will change that plan P to a lowercase p. So now we have act as a travel expert and plan a one-day trip to Edinburgh. So let's go a bit further. So if we move down to the end of the sentence where it says include Edinburgh Castle, let's add something in there. Okay. So the next thing we'll do is we'll ask it to look for some attractions that are off the beaten track. So, you know, some of the less popular attractions that might be a bit quieter. So after Edinburgh Castle, I'm going to put include some hidden gems and places off the beaten track. And it might come back with a few more obscure attractions that will still be equally as interesting, but you know, maybe not as common as most of the usual tourist hotspots. So let's add that. Another thing about Edinburgh and Scotland in general is the weather can change quite often and quite rapidly. So we often get 4 seasons in one day type thing. So let's go to the end after the 150 GBP. And at the very end, we'll add one sentence and ask it to include weather tips and accessibility options for public transport. So, you know, you may that may be an issue for you. You may look for ways to get around Edinburgh that are lend themselves to accessibility and accommodate the needs of everyone. So we can ask it to be quite specific about, you know, what's the best way to get around the city if you have accessibility needs. So let's add that as well. Okay, so we'll enter that and we'll see how we go. So again, it's going to do quite a bit of thinking for this. It can take a few minutes. I mean, depending on the length of the prompt and the ask, and the number of web pages that it has to research, it can take 1 or 2 minutes. But if you think about how long it would take you to research the sorts of things you're asking here, if you think of the earlier example we did I think it referenced 52 web pages. Now, you know, individually to go through 52 web pages and try and plan a trip is going to take you quite a bit of time. So, you know, 1, 2, 3 minutes for the AI tool is quite impressive, I think. So we can see it's coming back now, quite comprehensive. We've got the one-day itinerary for a couple over 40, and it gives a brief introduction about the city in general. It talks about walking routes. It mentions taxi rides and the cost of taxi rides for short distances. Again, it's assumed that the attraction entry fees are separate from the budget. As I said earlier, you can go back and be quite explicit about the fact that they should be included in the budget if you want. And then as we scroll down, we have, again, a really good breakdown there from arrival and breakfast to Edinburgh Castle, the old favourite. There's a lunch spot. There's Royal Mile highlights, Palace of Holyrood, Calton Hill to watch the sunset and have 360-degree views of the city. And then there's some Princess Street Gardens. Princess Street is the main thoroughfare in Edinburgh city centre. And some free time. It talks about some free time just to stroll around and have a look. And then there's a dinner spot with a recommendation there. And then departure, and some summary notes at the end. So total walking tells you to use Google Maps. You know, one of the things I'm not going to do today, but one of the things you can do is you can ask the tool to output the route into a Google Map file that you can then import into your phone, into Google Maps, and it will actually show you the route on the map that it's suggested for you and broken down. Again, really quite useful. It's giving you a budget breakdown, and it's giving you some tips for the weather as well. So pack layers, watch out for rain if you're coming to Edinburgh. It can rain at any time of the year. So that's it for today. That's the example I wanted to give you. Planning a one-day city break in Edinburgh. Again, you can choose any city you want to do. You can choose any duration. The idea today was just to show you how detailed a response you can get from one of these AI tools to help you out with your planning. So hopefully that's helped out and helped you understand how you could use these AI tools a bit more in everyday life. AI, I think, is here to stay. I don't want to get into a debate about AI ethics, and that's a much bigger topic. What I'm trying to do here is just show you the basics. These tools are available. They can help you. They can help you out in everyday life. And I'm running through some basic examples just to give you some exposure to that. So feel free to use them, to not use them. It's entirely up to you. Hope that one helped. I'm going to do a few more in the series, other everyday practical examples. I think the next one I'm going to do is we will compose or write a letter or an email to a company. Maybe we'll go with a complaint about a service or a product you're not happy about, and I'll show you how we can, you know, with quite a basic ask, you can have quite a professional looking letter or email written on your behalf that you can use to send to a company, and hopefully that they will see that and take it a bit more seriously. So that's the next episode. Thanks for watching. Please do like and subscribe the video if you like. That really helps the channel. I'm trying to grow the channel. And other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.